2020 couldn't have dawned on a better note. Standing on the patio of a remote cottage in the middle of a wildlife sanctuary, looking at the first sunrise of the year, rays glinting off snow-covered peaks of the Himalayas, it really did feel like a new beginning. A fresh new start to what promised to be a great year for travel. And for a while it did seem that way. A vacation in Thailand was followed by not one but two bucket list trips back to back. A lost kingdom in Nepal, and then in the desert sands of Wadi Rum in Jordan. The first 2 months of the year were a dream come true. But you know what they say, when things seem too good to be true?
I didn't know it at the time, but that trip to Jordan would be my last overseas trip in the foreseeable future. In retrospect, I realized just how lucky I was. I escaped being stranded or worse, even quarantined abroad. I made it back to Delhi in the nick of time.
2 months have gone by since then. The lockdown in Delhi where I live will probably end on the 31st of May. Limited travel, however, has just been allowed. Gingerly, I've made a few short sorties out of town in my car. Unlike America, there was never a great Indian road trip. But you can bet there's going to be one now. I keep hearing about this fear that people apparently have about travel, but honestly I haven't encountered it firsthand. Most people I know can't wait to get back out and travel. But that's when we're talking about traveling within India. We all have questions when it comes to international travel. Countries are in the process of reopening, but there's a lack of clarity on new regulations regarding transit, health checks, documentation, you name it. The entire exercise is fraught with trepidation. Before the pandemic hit, I was in the final stages of tying up details for a family golf trip to Thailand. Now I have to start from scratch. When I started researching, I realized there's so much misinformation out there that I decided to ask the one person I know would have all the right answers.
We're still at the tail end of COVID lockdown, same as in India. So tourist travel is not yet permitted. At the moment, in Thailand, we have suspended visa on arrival until the 30th of September. If we can do COVID-free certificate, then we can have, travel. I think that would be great. The other thing that people may require is health insurance.
There's no understating the impact of the pandemic. When it comes to lives lost and disruption to the world economy, it's been nothing short of a catastrophe. Now, as countries teeter on the brink of recession, some industries have been able to draw up blueprints for recovery, while others like travel and tourism are dealing with an existential crisis.
For the first time in history, travel, whether it's for business or leisure, has come to a complete standstill across the globe. Think about that. No travel, period. When getting out and traveling is tantamount to risking life and limb, then that's more thrill than most adventure seekers can handle. Not surprisingly, even ancillary industries operating in markets that depend on travel and tourism have taken a huge financial hit. Expenses have had to be reduced to bare minimums and employees have been laid off. The World Travel and Tourism Council data reveals that Asia alone could lose up to 63.4 million jobs in the travel and tourism sector. Now, after a few months have passed, there does appear to be a glimmer of hope. Tentatively, countries are beginning to ease travel restrictions, but it still remains to be seen if people will get out and travel. What lies in store for the travel and tourism industry?
Travel after COVID may be more expensive than before because with safe distancing, you have less people for every available space, whether it's on the aircraft or in the hotels and so on. I think it's also an opportunity for us to rethink tourism, and nature has improved so much with COVID-19 that maybe we can offer more to less people, but they can come for years rather than over-exploiting what we have, run it down in 10 years and then have no Indian people come anymore.
For starters, travel within countries is likely to recover much faster than overseas travel. Lockdown has been hard for people who will now want to meet family and friends and, if possible, travel to destinations they're convinced are safe. It's a fair conjecture that leisure travel will take the lead over business travel. Younger people, those in the 18 to 35 age group, have a higher propensity to take risks. They're also buoyed by the fact that they're less vulnerable to COVID-19, and these people might travel sooner than others.
Most experts concur that the world will have to learn to live with the coronavirus. Countries are now working towards mitigating the economic fallout of the lockdowns imposed to contain the spread of the virus. It's not just economics though, is it? We're social creatures and people around the world are feeling frustrated at being confined to their homes. Cities are coming back to life, shops are reopening, as are restaurants and markets. But this new normal has little in common with life as we knew it.
In many countries, people can move around freely, take public transport, go to work, and even get a meal out if they feel like it. Eateries are being creative to help patrons feel comfortable and safe. At this popular Vietnamese restaurant in Bangkok, customers don't have to dine alone. Pandas, they may be inanimate, but patrons at Maison Saigon don't seem to mind sharing the table with these furry, cuddly creatures.
I think this is good because once I walk in, I can work out where to sit to keep social distancing. It's a lot easier to understand compared to other restaurants where people always get confused about where to sit and end up sitting too close to each other.
It's great. The stuffed bear makes me feel less lonely eating by myself, and this acrylic partition also makes me feel safe eating at restaurants.
Under Thailand's social distancing guidelines, diners are required to sit diagonally across from each other. So, pandas get to occupy the vacant seats, and everybody's happy.
The easing of the restrictions comes with a condition that customers who come alone will have just one chair at the table. But for me, it feels a bit strange. So I came up with the idea to bring a stuffed toy to accompany them.
Thai society is deeply religious, and the country's heritage has led to a fascinating interweaving of Buddhist and Hindu cultures. This is best exemplified at the popular Erawan Shrine that sits right in the center of Bangkok. The shrine houses a statue of Prapram, the four-faced Thai representation of Brahma, the Hindu god of creation. People come here to pray for good health and fortune, but appropriately, the shrine is venerated most for people's belief that it can ward off bad luck. Erawan has reopened and people are coming back.
I pray for the society, Thailand can return to normal very soon. I'm very happy to see this open, so it's getting better and better. So I pray for everyone's health, and I pray for myself and my family. We can all fly back to Australia soon. So just hopefully everything will get back to normal very soon.
I came to fulfill my vow today. Earlier, I came to pray for a wish. But because the Erawan Shrine was closed, I had to wait for a month for it to open.
The custom at the shrine is that devotees whose prayers have been answered hire dance troupes to express their gratitude. The dancers are back, even if with face masks and appropriate protection.
Before the disease outbreak, we were doing so well because there were lots of tourists. After the crisis, we did about 70% less dancing. But now, after closing for 1 month, we are back in business and the dancers can make a living by earning almost $16 a day again.
The Chatu Chak market, a modern wonder of the world if you ask me, a cornucopia of stalls, street food vendors and people selling everything from vintage curios to souvenirs and household goods. If there ever was a place that represents the fascinating potpourri of chaos, sounds, smells and scenes of Bangkok teeming with people and life, then that would be Chatu Chak. An expansive mini-city in which everyone is jostling for space and which can take days to explore fully. It's a stark contrast. The lack of shoppers lining up ever since the market was reopened is perhaps the most visible manifestation of how the new normal is going to be.
When tourists are back, all countries will have to get back on their feet economically. People will have to have salaries. They will have to absorb the blow, not for another year, but a year and a half.
visitors to Chatuchak need to have their temperatures checked at the entrance, they need to wear a face mask and adhere to social distancing norms. Even though market authorities have waived off shop rents till November this year in an effort to get people to reopen their stalls, a number of stall owners have decided not to do so. There's no shortcut back to normalcy. It is going to be a long haul, and we'd best be prepared for it.
Not just Thailand, countries across the world are slowly opening, and people are, even if tentatively, leaving the safety of their homes to get out and explore. These people are witnessing a world they've never seen before.
In the French Alps, skiers in picturesque Chamonix made a beeline for the cable car, masks, helmets and gloves in hand. The company running this gondola said that almost 400 people rode the cable cars up the mountain on the first day of reopening.
Usually at this time of the year, we're transporting more like 1,500 to 2,000 people per day, but the objective was to restart the cable car after 2 months of confinement, which was necessary to allow people to access the high mountains.
L'accessibilité de la haute montagne.
The pistes or skiing routes around Chamonix are considered a Valhalla for skiers. People from around the world come here to ski and train with some of the best instructors in the sport.
Some of my friends from home were telling me that you're very lucky to be here, but each day looking out the window, seeing the mountain is like when you have the cake on the table, but you cannot eat from it. So it's good to look, but cannot touch. So that was a bit.
For enthusiasts, being stuck here and not being allowed to ski has been, well, frustrating to say the least. Barcelona is one of the loveliest cities in Spain. Not surprisingly, it's been one of the most prominent victims of over-tourism in the last few years. No such trouble these days. The city's recently reopened parks and beaches are devoid of tourists, and locals are making hay while the sun shines.
It is more charming when there are fewer people. Normally, I do not come to these beaches. I usually go to more the Costa Brava or the Costa Dorada. It's what my friend and I were talking about. But now it is more pleasant. The water is also cleaner.
The Acropolis. This monumental structure, located on a rocky outcrop above the city of Athens, has reopened for visitors after Greece eased lockdown restrictions on archaeological sites. New additions to the ancient citadel include plexiglass barriers and social distancing markers. But visitors aren't complaining. They are just happy to have the whole place to themselves.
This is my first visit to the Acropolis. I've lived in Athens for 2 years and I feel very fortunate to be privileged to be here today with so few people and to experience it in its tranquility and beauty, and it's an amazing place.
The clear plexiglass barrier on the walkway at the Propylaea, the gateway of the Acropolis, presents a somewhat dystopian sight with the ancient marble columns of the temples looming behind.
The Ministry of Culture wishes to provide all the necessary measures so that Greek and foreign visitors feel absolutely safe while at the archaeological sites.
To continue with the fight against COVID-19, workers were spotted wearing masks and plastic face shields on the site. Greece gradually began easing the lockdown on March 23rd, but museums will open only on June 15th. For the time being, shops and beaches have reopened. One of Australia's most iconic landmarks, the Bondi Beach, has reopened. The beach had been cordoned off on March 21st after thousands of people defied its closure. The region has Australia's highest concentration of COVID-19 cases. The beach has now been open to swimmers and surfers. According to the official notification, the beach is open only from 7 in the morning to 5 in the evening, but beachgoers are not allowed to linger on the sand.
It was so good, it was so nice. The water's actually really warm. at the moment, yeah. It's amazing that it's open again. Yeah, we loved it.
Yeah, so far, first morning, but I think they're doing a good job of policing it, making sure that everyone gets in, gets out.
Officials are also keeping a tally of visitors entering and exiting the beach to ensure social distancing. Despite the restrictions, people couldn't be happier to be back on the beach. After a 10-week lockdown, Italy is slowly opening up. In Venice, the famous gondolas that ferry people around the city's canals are back. Not too many takers for the water taxis yet. Venice without tourists. Here's a sight you're not likely to see again in your lifetime.
In order to reopen, we follow sanitary protocols, which require 1 meter between one passenger and the other. For example, gondola ferry, which usually carries 14 people, now carries just 6.
Italy has allowed unrestricted travel in specific regions. Cafes and shops have reopened for business. Restaurants have been permitted to serve guests as long as tables are set at least 2 meters apart. COVID-19 is the most insidious virus we've ever known. This diabolic microbe has single-handedly compromised mankind's mobility and brought the entire world to a grinding halt. The travel industry, sailing along merrily in 2020, suddenly finds itself not only at sea but marooned in the doldrums. Favorable winds are expected to blow only when people start traveling again, whenever that happens. 116 years after we first took to the air, our flying machines have been grounded at airports around the world, gathering dust, except for the rare flights to repatriate stranded travelers.
You know, travel bans are a necessary evil at the moment while we haven't conquered COVID-19. But what you'll see, you know, as we become more and more countries have COVID under control, then the travel restrictions will ease. Okay, you will start seeing more air travel, and then the opportunities will open up for tourism. But we still have some homework to do to make the tourism supply chain fully safe. In terms of like countries like Thailand and India, what you'll find is that first there'll be more opening up within the country, you know, between provinces in Thailand, between states in India, then domestic flights will start. And then international airlines will start selling tickets. That's when you know that you can start thinking about travel.
After a purple patch during which demand for air travel was increasing at twice the pace of the global economy, today the future for airlines is literally up in the air. In a post-COVID world, nothing is expected to return to normal. If you found pre-flight checks exasperating earlier, then we suggest you make your peace with new protocols that are likely to be in place when you decide to fly again. Here's a snapshot of what flying in a post-COVID world might involve. Health screening. You need to be fit to fly. Goes without saying, right? Stay cool when a thermal scanner is pointed at you. Thermal cameras are already in use at airports, and temperature screening will be mandatory when air travel gets underway. Don't be squeamish, it's just a pinprick. Pre-flight COVID-19 blood tests might become the norm. Emirates, the largest airline in the Middle East, has become the first to perform these tests with results delivered within 10 minutes. Once a COVID vaccine is released, then passengers will need to present a proof of inoculation or a test result certifying them as COVID negative before being allowed to board a flight or even to check in at a hotel.
What we're accepting now is something called Fit to Fly certificate, you know, for Thai repatriates. If COVID-free certificate is available, that would be great.
If you think you're tired of rubbing sanitizer on your hands, then get set for a much more expansive experience. Tech-savvy airports such as Hong Kong International Airport are already testing full-body sanitizing booths. You get a 40-second spray that spares just your face. This airport has even deployed cleaning robots. Forget the human touch. Chances are that you will have zero physical interaction at the airport. Touchless travel is the new buzzword. Expect biometric check-in systems and facial recognition. Digital boarding passes have been gaining in popularity around the world, but will probably become the norm now. Not just customer service counters at airports and hotels, but even cabs will have acrylic or glass barriers in place. Consider it your own private limo. In Bangkok, the Royal Thai Air Force has designed and installed special barriers in 5 taxi fleets to segregate passengers from drivers and prevent contagion.
This barrier acts as a filtration device against COVID-19. What it does is filters the air for passengers. When the passengers breathe, there would be 2 devices that would purify the air for them.
While we haven't conquered COVID-19 and there's still no vaccine, we can't, remove the travel bans completely. Foreign travel is still one source of infection. But as we become more in control with COVID-19, you'll see the gradual relaxation of travel bans. In the end, they will have to come with additional precautions as a result of COVID, but we'll try not to make them onerous or not to make them an obstacle to travel.
Since no one likes looking like an astronaut, the fashion conscious are probably already scouting for chic protective apparel lines. Airline crew is especially susceptible, and AirAsia Philippines recently unveiled a red-colored bodysuit consisting of a face shield and a face mask for its pursers and attendants. Passengers are likely to follow suit.
Over the last 2 months, I've had the opportunity to think a lot about what travel means to me. Succinctly and at the risk of sounding overdramatic, I know that it's more than a lifestyle. Travel nourishes my soul. I don't think any of us are going to take our lives for granted again, which means when we do travel, we will probably make the most of it. On that note, I'll leave you with my favorite travel memory of the year. Hopefully, it won't be the last for 2020. Every time I look down on this timeless town, whether blue or grey be her skies, whether loud be her tears, or whether soft be her tears, more and more do I realize that I love Paris in the springtime. I love Paris in the fog. I love Paris in the summer when it sizzles. I love Paris in the winter when it drizzles. I love Paris every moment of the year. I love Paris. Why do I love Paris? Because my love is near. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.